Bow build and tankiness in one sentence doesn't you hear often. With the tattoos, we can deal good damage and be tanky at the same time. What's up guys, Bridget here. Let's see what things we got on the damage side. Our signal target skill is Barrage. You attack repeatedly with your bow and these attacks has random lethal spread. This is why I'm standing still near the bosses, so all the projectiles can hit the same target. We're using an old quality Phantasmal version. This is helping us increase the Brighter, Scorch and Sept effect on the bosses. So we can easily reach 3 or 4% or even more, which is huge critical chance increase. Our clear skill is Lightning Arrow. You attack with your bow and when it hits an enemy, it will strike with a bolt of lightning, and this lightning bolt can hit 3 nearby enemies as well, making this skill very great for map clearing. Of course, if you prefer Ice Shot, you can use it as well. To be able to inflict big Brighter and any other big elements effects, you need double damage mod. I put 30% on my weapon and we're using a Timeless Javel Letter Pride that's 10% chance to deal double damage. Pair with the old quality Barrage, making an extremely good combo. We can use 4 curses in our build, because using my favorite unique ring, Anathema, our curse limit is equal to our maximum power charges. Every character can have 3 power charges, but we're taking from the 3 an extra power charge, so our curse limit is 4. I'm using all the damage curses, because our damage is not only lightning, we're dealing massive amount cold and fire damage as well, so the curses we're using is the following: Elemental Weakness, Frostbite and Flammability, and we applying these curses with one single ability, Arcanist Brand. Even we can use a mark. This is Sniper's Mark to increase the damage even further. In this league the interrogation unique Javel is very cheap, so I put in this Javel, which is adding the secret of Suffering Keystone. We can't ignite, chill or shock. For exchange we can inflict Brighter, which is increase the base critical chance against the enemy. Instead of Ignite, we inflicting Scorch, that will increase the elemental damage the enemy take. Sept instead of Shock, which is reducing the damage the enemy deal to us. Our skills is almost free, but have enough mana to proc the inspiration charges. We have Divine Blessing set up. This aura is cost nothing, because this time I broke the bank and I bought a Divenjet version of inspiration, so my Divine Blessing mana cost is 0. I could use the Eldritch Battery setup, but it would cost too much passive points, and with this signal change I can save up 5 points, which is really huge, so I can put more on damage. The aura we're using with this setup is Hatred, because I'm using many cold damage tattoos. Yes, you heard right, the build focusing on very cheap tattoo. We have 90 in this build, giving us huge damage and Brighter boost. We're also using a secondary source of damage, Ballistas, with Barrage. We can have 3 of these guys. They will help to inflict high Brighter, Scourge and Sept on the target. The mapping feels really fast and satisfying, because we're using haste alone. This is very good, because you will run faster. Also the build has really high Flask effectiveness, so we're zooming around more than 100% extra movement speed. Our clear is just amazing. Overall very quick and decent build for that level of tankiness. On the defensive side, let's start with my favorite part. We have Elemental Elements Immunity, because we're using the unique Javel, Ancestral Vision. Spell Suppression also applying to chance to avoid elemental elements at half of their value, and the rest is from the tree and Boots Implicits, and a Signal Craft. The other best thing about this build, we almost converting all of the physical damage taken to elemental damage. We have 89%. Using Lightning Coil, that's alone 50%. A unique flask, namely Taste of Fate, that's 24%, because we have increased flask effect node allocated on the tree. 10% from our Watcher Eye, because we're using Purity of Lighting, and 14% from our helmet. Because we take that many damage as elemental, we can use all the elemental damage reduction flask, Ruby, Topaz, and the unique Sapphire Flask, Taste of Hate, so reducing the damage we take from the physical that we converting to elemental damage. Using Petrified Blood. If you not use this aura before, this makes us unable to recover about 50% life without Life Flask, but for exchange we will stagger percentage of the damage we take and it will deal to us over 4 seconds. We have insane recovery from our Ascendancy, because we taking Pathfinder, we can use the Master Surgeon node. That will make our Life Flask still active if our life reaching full, making an extremely good with the Petrified Blood. From our Life Flask we get almost 2k life regen alone, and that that is up all the time. Before we moving to items, I have to tell you something. I was not satisfied with this build. The reason is the damage. Half of our damage comes from the ballistas. These little guys have really low health, and they will die almost to anything. It was annoying to resummon them all the time, and I got very frustrated because of that. Also, most of the boss teleporting around, making extremely hard to set up or damage, but when they stop moving for a few seconds, you have a little window to deal damage. So if you're planning to bring this build Agnist Ubers, keep this in mind. I'm completed them, but it was a struggle, and maybe you will also have a hard time. I just wanted to put here to let you know this build is not 100% perfect. But if you have any suggestion, let me know, and I will revisit the build to make it better. I would like if you hit the like button like the shaper hitting the adder, so it can start spread to more people. Thank you! Few important things you need in the build. Aim on your weapon, high elemental damage and attack speed. It's important to get high elemental DPS weapon with attack speed. Also, if you not have accuracy rating on this, you have to fill the rest with the other gears. On the keyword, aim life, damage with bow skills, additional arrow, and if you need, accuracy rating. Using free unique item in the build, lighting oil unique body armor. This is give us really big physical damage reduction. Anathema unique ring. With this ring we can use 4 curses in the build. Also give us int and a little bit of energy shield. Here is Truth unique amulet. This is give us crit multi and level 30 precision, which is helping us to get 100% accuracy and gives tons of crit. Our anointment is tenacity. The following implicits you can craft with the Eldish currency. Spam till you get the following. On your gloves, cold exposure on hit and gain rage on hit with attacks. On your boots, avoid elemental elements and increase action speed. On your helmet, physical damage taken as lightning damage and increased elemental weakness curse effect. We're using an enchantment here, Barrage fire additional projectile. In this build I need to mention the cross we're using on our gear. On the ring, percentage reduce mana cost. On gloves, increase damage during flask effect. On helmet, physical damage taken as fire damage. On the belt, while focus, your critical strike chance is lucky. On your bow, percentage to deal double damage while focused. Before we starting the flask section, with Pathfinder you don't have to cap your resistance with your gear, because you will have 100% uptime on the resistance flasks. So you don't have to worry about capping your resistance with the gear, just your chaos resistance. Flasks we're using is a ruby, topaz, a unique sapphire flask, taste of hate, diamond and the divine life flask. On the utility flask you need to have this mod, reduce duration and increased effect. Pay attention when you rolling your flasks, because there is many mod combination with these two, but the duration reduce even bigger, so your flasks will not have 100% uptime. The submods on these two reduce mana cost of skills. You can get this from the betray mechanic when unveiling flasks. On the other flask, additional elemental resistance. On the diamond flask, increase attack speed during effect. When you're doing mobs, switch out the diamond flask to quicksilver flask. On your life flask, needs this mod, increase the amount recovered, and this mod comes with the downside, reduce recovery rate. The sub mod is up to you, but I was lucky to hit this. Recover additional percentage of flask's life, recover amount over 10 seconds if you used while not on full life. This will be active even after you reach maximum life, so you have extra regen on the top of your life flask. Important to mention here, you can buy a life flask with increased quality for really cheap, so you have more recovery. Pantheons we're using is the following. On boss fights, Soul of Solaris, and you need to upgrade 8% reduce elemental damage taken if you haven't been hit recently. This is come in handy to tank the serious meteor. Minor, Soul of Rislata. The low part could be life saving if you start panicking when your life drops below half. For mopping, I switching to Soul of Solaris, Bandits, 2 passive points. I just want to highlight a few things on the passive tree that you need for the build. Using a passive cluster javel with Calamitus, Arcing Shot and Smite the Weak. 2 medium cluster javel with Repeater and Streamlined. Peak Vigor and Spike Concation. Small cluster javel, Interrogation. We have a letter pride timeless javel. We got 2 double damage mod. One here on Ballistics and on the Revenge of the Hunted. Worth to mention, I got increased maximum life on Charisma node. Watcher Eye increased attack damage while affected by precision, and we still using physical damage taken as lightning damage while affected by Purity of Lighting. Thread of Hope with large radius, so we can take Aspect of Eagle, One with Nature, Primal Force, Master Fletcher, King of the Hill, Piercing Shots, and Multi-Shot. Using many tattoos, 1 signal suppression here, and increased global accuracy here, 2 life here, and the rest is added cold damage. We're taking Pathfinder as our Ascendancy. On your first lap take Nature's Boon, so your Magic Flask will have increased effect. Just don't forget upgrade your Quicksilver Flasks to Magic Rarity while leveling. Second lap, Nature's Adrenaline, you now generating flash charges. Third lab, Master Surgeon. Your life flask will stay active if your life is full. Last lab, we don't really have good Uber lab choices, so I just take the small flask notes here. Gem and Gemling, starting with our main link in our body armor, Phantasmal Barrage, Inspiration, Trinity, Awakened added cold damage, increased critical damage, elemental damage with attacks. In our bow or ballista setup, Ballista Totem, Inspiration, Focused Ballista, elemental damage with attacks, increased critical damage, and Phantasmal Barrage. When you do maps, you can switch out the Phantasmal Barrage to Lightning Arrow or Ice Shot, it's up to you. In our gloves, Divine Jet, Inspiration, Divine Blessing, Hatred, and Flame Dash. In our helmet, Anomalous Frostbite, Anomalous Flammability, Arcanist Brand, and Elemental Weakness. In our boots, Anomalous Petrified Blood, Haste, Sniper's Mark, Purity of Lighting. I hope you enjoyed this video about Barrage Pathfinder. If you have any question, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, I would like to say thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. Thanks again guys. Thanks for watching, I was Pidget, see you next time.